Chapter 3. I had spent the next 3 days more depressed than usual, and the usual was already bad enough. I couldn't sense Javelin no matter how hard I tried to mentally call him. My mother still hadn't contacted me to tell me the outcome of her mission. I was living on edge, nervous about my father. To top it all off, Christian was angry with me. I was trying to pay attention in my advertising class, but all I could think about was him. I had texted him earlier when class started and asked him if he was okay. He responded with a short and simple, "I'm fine," which just meant that he wasn't. It was only when class was ending that he sent me another message. I swallowed hard as uneasiness clutched at my throat before I read what it said. "I still can't believe you just bled out at my house and expected me to keep my composure. I was literally holding a towel to your arm, and it's like you couldn't even see why I was pissed." I could practically hear his voice through the screen. My chest caved every time I thought about what I would say back to him. He was right. Blood magic, dragon fire, and spells were all starting to seem very normal to me, but I wasn't thinking about how he was taking it at all. I did care about what he felt, but at the same time, I didn't allow myself to care too much. I had to make sure all of this was normal to me if I wanted to survive, and that would not happen if I was focused on him and his damn feelings. It didn't help that I could often be a distant person. I was so scared of losing people that I never let them get too close to me in the first place. It was an unhealthy way to live, but it was the only way I knew. I sighed a little and texted back, "I'm sorry. We should talk about this tonight and clear it up." I held my breath. He'd been kind of withdrawn. Would he text back? What would he say? "Okay, yeah, we should," he responded. Relief washed over me like a tsunami, but it quickly disappeared when Javelin re-entered my thoughts. Where is he? I wanted to be with him. I thought about the many nights I would sit atop his back and wisp through the low clouds, flame riding shadow through the currents of wind that took us wherever our hearts desired. I would look down and see some of his 4 legs swinging in the air, silver dagger-like claws reflecting the moonlight, his head swinging back and forth as his blue eyes kept track, his haunting teeth tearing through birds like they were wet paper. I'd much rather deal with his flame than those teeth. His breathing matched mine. We were connected. Every flap of his wing, every movement of muscle, I could feel everything when we were close. I could feel his euphoria. I could feel his pain. I could feel his rage. Midnight's fire breath was blue like my flame, the hottest. Our magical fire was already much hotter than Earth's. Blue magic just meant that even embers, who can usually withstand some heat, wouldn't want to be on its receiving end. "So make sure you all are reading chapters 4 and 5 for Wednesday. Midterms are coming up, you guys." I don't even have the books, sis. Most people weren't paying attention to what the professor was saying as the class dismissed. I was deep in trance-like thought as I lumbered clumsily out of the classroom and into the hallways. "Xander!" It was Amina. She'd told me that she wasn't coming to class today. "I know I said I wouldn't be here," she smiled and stopped me in the corridor. "Dick appointment arrived earlier than I thought." "You're so annoying," I laughed with her. I'd known her since the beginning of undergrad 5 years ago, and I was now in grad school making no real use of the English bachelor's degree I'd barely gotten. Anyway, Amina met me at orientation eons ago and, to my delight, hadn't left me the hell alone since. "Speaking of annoying, how are you and Christian?" she asked. Freckles dotted her honey-colored skin, black curls spilled all around her face, and her smile decorated it perfectly every time I saw her. She was a short girl, but had the soul of a warrior. "We are fine." My heart sank, and she could feel it no matter how hard I tried to hide. "Yeah, okay, Mr. I love to bullshit." She slapped my cheek, and it stung. Her hands were as cold as I'd always remembered them being. "There's something that you aren't telling me, and when I find out, I'm kicking that ass, okay?" She'd been saying that since the moment I met her. She was correct. I couldn't even tell her what Christian and I had been fighting about because the only dragons she knew about were on TV. I hadn't told her anything about Xeraxia. I was waiting for the right moment and it never seemed to come. I didn't know how much longer she could tolerate not being told the truth. No, I promise. Everything is fine, I lied. You have no reason to be worried. Is that why you were bleeding out on his floor? She said. My heart stopped. The world stopped. I felt like my life paused for a moment. What the hell? How did she know? How did she find out? Did Christian tell her? What am I going to say? Has she always known? Relax, dumbass, she said. She handed me my phone and quickly snatched up both sleeves of my shirt. There were the bandages on my left arm, proof, as if reading through my text messages wasn't already enough. Come on, Amina. I pulled my shirt back down just as quickly as I'd been exposed. I whipped my head up to look around, and thankfully nobody was looking back. You're lying to me, Xander. Are you cutting? She lowered her tone, and before I could say anything, she completed her question. Are you cutting again? Because, with your depression... Amina, I shouted in anger, but was met only with concern. Did she think I had forgotten about my own actions? I hated being reminded about my issues. My insomnia did that enough for me already. We let the sounds of people heading to their next class fill up the next few seconds since we didn't know how to do it ourselves. I should have never forgotten my phone on that fucking desk, I thought. Zan, I'm just worried about you. I can tell something's up. Are you sure you're okay? What happened? I didn't want her to leave me like so many of my friends from the shelters and homes. I didn't have control before, but I did now. I figured she wouldn't abandon me no matter what I told her, but still, I hated taking those kinds of risks. So I lied again. I promise you, Amina, nothing's up. Don't worry. It really was just an accident. I put on the best fake smile that I could, and it worked. We walked to the cafe together, but what I really needed was another one of Christian's blunts.